Hi again, everyone. Welcome to the Wrestling Podcast. This is Raj Giri. Glenn Rubenstein is out today, so I'm filling in for him, but he will be back this Sunday. We have 3 podcasts this weekend between Saturday, Sunday, and of course our post-Raw podcast. I'm here joined by Matt Morgan, who's joining us for a special Wednesday podcast. Matt, how's it going?
Going great. How are you guys?
Good. And also joining us is once again Chris Featherstone of the Pancakes and Power Slams podcast. Chris, how are you doing?
Doing fantastic. Got a little 8-week-old little girl, keeping me up.
Oh, congratulations.
I remember that time. Those first few months can be tough, but it gets much better. Tons of news to get into. I guess let's start with real quick talking about Enzo Amore. WWE officially released him yesterday. There's been no change in his case with the police. So it appears there are reports that it has to do more with him not informing WWE ahead of time about it, as opposed to the charges itself.
I think they're right. I think, at first I was like, they couldn't just fire him without proof. You know what I mean? Without this going the distance, and either he's guilty or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if he knew about this and didn't share that with WWE, that's horrible. You know what I mean? Like, it's a publicly traded company. You know how about much smaller issues. Now, something like this, this is something you're supposed to mention.
Right. Chris? Yeah. At the end of the day, WWE wants to make themselves look as presentable as possible to the shareholders. And something like this would be would be a negative mark if they have any type of knowledge, and he's still on the payroll. So I can totally understand why they did it. I mean, typically, as we saw with Rich Swann, that the case is still guilty, but I think the element of not letting them know was kind of like the smoking gun for them.
So I guess I wonder if that means, though, because Jey Uso had the DUI last week that came out, and the incident with Rich Swann. Do you think? I mean, I guess we don't know, but in those cases that they had informed WWE right after it happened, because if they didn't, then they would have had grounds to terminate those guys too, right?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that it's the time frame. I mean, with Swann, kind of exposed right there. But you're talking 3 months with Enzo. That's a pretty, it's a pretty long time span for the WWE just now knowing. Even with the other incidents, it was relatively immediately after it occurred. So finding out 3 months later is just something that you just can't do.
And to be fair, Enzo has not been charged with anything yet. The accuser went to TMZ. Has been talking on social media. Usually attorneys advise people in cases like this to not speak to the press, but she has been out there. I had brought up on the podcast on Monday how she had said that, and this is by no way saying anything on which side is right or wrong, but she had made a claim that she was in a mental hospital for 45 days. She kind of walked that back on Twitter, saying it was 26 days. She was supposed to be 45 days, but she left on basically kind of like escaped. It's a weird case, this one. So I don't know. It's a weird case. Matt, your thoughts?
Talk of it, such a what's the word? I don't want to call it a hot button issue, because rape is a bigger issue even than using that word to insult it, right? Using that phrase. But any way you go, it's incredibly polarizing, right? With your opinion on it. My personal opinion, however, is, to my understanding, this woman has lied in the past about many other things, including multiple pregnancies, and that doesn't mean that she can't go out and be raped, however. You know what I mean? So you need to treat this as serious as possible, and until Enzo is proven innocent. But I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. There's a lot of things that don't add up. There's a lot of things that add up that in Enzo's favor that maybe this didn't happen. But again, we won't know until this is finalized. I do know if you're high on drugs, you don't really remember the details. I couldn't imagine you remember so many details that she very calmly went through on TMZ Sports. Like, I'm just speaking from my own opinion on if, I don't want to say if I was raped, but like if, let's say if I was a person that was raped, I can't imagine going to TMZ Sports with it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I'd go to anybody necessarily about it. You know what I mean? You know, the bottom line is, if you want the story out there because this happened to you and you think Enzo should pay, okay, it's out there. So why go to TMZ Sports and then my point is how calmly she went through this, you know, like step by step, every detail, what happened. And when you're high on drugs, the drugs that they claiming they were using, you're not remembering that stuff. Not to that detail.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is, again, as you're saying, Matt, this is just totally my opinion. This isn't, you know, guilty or innocent type of plea or anything. You know, this is on it. And I'm currently a PhD candidate in forensic psychology. So I've heard plenty of cases like this and studied them thoroughly. I would be the person who would interview someone like Philomena to see if she's feigning or not and submit that to the courts. And one of the biggest things in stuff like that is finding the inconsistencies or the consistencies to be able to submit that stuff to the court. And this is sheer opinion. Again, this isn't a guilty or innocent plea. There were plenty of inconsistencies that I saw in that video that just didn't add up. I mean, and I also looked at another video from a friend, and he was saying that there were receipts and he was snapshotting phone text messages that they went back, and she was saying that I'm in the bed with this wrestler. Those are things that, you know, wouldn't really hold much weight in court in your favor, to be honest.
And we've actually been getting a lot of flack for not posting that video from her friend. We can't verify that there are generators online where you can generate texts. And so we can't, there's no way to know if those texts are real or not. Granted, the way he was telling the story, it's on YouTube. It's going to be easy to find if you look for it. But, he's sharing these texts and, giving, but we just don't know if those are real or not, quite frankly. And, we go into posting stuff from third parties and third parties and third parties. It just gets muddled. So that's why we're not posting that video on the site. We're only posting from, the accused and the accuser. So anything from Enzo, the two other people implicated, and the accuser, if there's something newsworthy, that is what we are putting up. But
then that's all you're going to be posting, right? Because she's the only one flapping her gums about it.
Well, and that's, we're not really going to post everything she says or any, if there's something that is newsworthy,
gotcha,
then we'll post that, but definitely not everything.
In your defense, Raj, I was someone toward the end of my wrestling career, I had someone actually make up not even fake direct messages with making it look like it was actually me writing it, but text messages as well. Like, I've had that happen. So like I experienced that firsthand of going, wait, holy bleep. How does this even happen? Is this a real thing? Is this Photoshop? What is this? And it's right. There are generators that you can do to gimmick anything. I'm not saying that happened here, but I'm saying, like, you got to play that other side of the fence as being a responsible journalist.
Yeah. And plus that user also has another video that he had posted a while ago, where he's bragging about going viral, on YouTube. So you just,
I think as like you said, Matt, being a respected journalist, I think that's incredibly important. I think the biggest thing is public information. It's accessible even if it's on the site or not. I think the biggest thing is that video is kind of along with the TMZ video as far as inconsistencies are concerned. The pattern is the biggest thing that we're looking at discussion wise. You know what I mean? And I think the inconsistency pattern that Philomena has shown, as you even stated before initially. I think those pattern of inconsistencies, again, this is my opinion, just shows that there just needs to be something that needs to be further looked in with her, as far as just the if everything's authentic, about this whole case.
And it's one of those things, even if everything she had made up in the past was made up, if this one thing is right, then it's, that's a crime. So
certainly
make that clear. But at the same time, so if she is right, and, and this was, once all the facts are out there and the police are handling this, then Enzo should be, should face, this is a felony, this is jail time, prison time. He should face that. And if it turns out it's not right, if this was a made up story, and definitely not saying it is, but if it is, first of all, Enzo should sue her back for libel if that was the case, because this is getting him fired. If it's not real, then it has done tremendous damage to his life and his career. Things like that. There was the thing with Aziz Ansari recently where people a lot of times don't read the article. They just see sexual assault and they tie that in. So a lot of people see the original story, may not see if it did come out that he didn't do it, see that. And it just makes it iffy to deal with him.
The statistic is at least 60 to 75% of the people will never see that saw that mainstream people. They're never going to see if he was found not guilty.
Yeah.
I was arrested many, many years ago for something I didn't even do. Nobody read that second part when it came out like a month later, I want to say a month later, that I was found not guilty and everything was dropped. No one cared. No one.
The damage was done.
Yeah. Nobody cares, unfortunately.
And again, just making it clear, we're not saying one way or the other. Just if it happened one way, he should face prison time. If it didn't happen one way, he should do everything he can to, I don't know if clear his name is right, but I also hope if it did turn out that other way where he didn't do it and he was falsely accused, that WWE would, take him back immediately. Because the guy, if it wasn't true, he went through a lot, and it sucks that you didn't tell him. But at the same time, he's getting murdered out there too. So
yeah, I think it's all about the police and the investigators doing their job at this point.
Yeah, it's weird. You couldn't script this one. It's just kind of wild. All right, SmackDown.
Nice segue.
Yeah, we had SmackDown Live last night. Actually, unlike Raw, they were building to the Royal Rumble. SmackDown, we opened up, and apologize, guys, I'm not the best podcast host. That's usually Glenn's job, but I'll do the best I can. But we opened up with a Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn promo. Talking about the Yup movement and how they're going to win the title this Sunday. Mentioned Shane McMahon's name, who got booed, actually. And AJ Styles came out, cut a promo, called them Cammy again. They went back and forth. Daniel Bryan came out. Ultimately, this led to AJ. Did he challenge Sammy and Kevin to separate matches tonight, or they challenged him? AJ accepted without Daniel Bryan being able to say anything. So that's the double main event for tonight. Guys, Matt, let me go to you first. What are your thoughts on this opening segment?
Strong as usual with Kevin, and Sammy. AJ wasn't strong here in his promo. Just not because he did anything wrong, but because of the crap they wrote for him, in my opinion.
Ugh.
You know what I mean? Trying to get him to do the nope, it was hard to watch.
Yeah, it was brutal. I thought, Chris.
We see with Raw, and I've said this before, I think the comparison just between Raw's champion and SmackDown's champion is making SmackDown's champion look way less relevant. I mean, just I think the fact that we don't see Brock Lesnar all the time, I think that helps the prestige of the title. I think the fact that we see AJ Styles all the time, and the fact that he's lost 3 non-title matches within a month's time.
Yeah.
I mean, what in the world? I mean, that talk about diluting the potency of your champion. There's no way in the world that the WWE would do that to Brock Lesnar. And seeing those patterns is just diluting just the strength of AJ.
Absolutely. But also the stuff that they're scripting for him is just god awful.
It's terrible.
I mean, the Cammy stuff, he sounds like a mom that's trying to hang out with the kids and is using their lingo. You know, it just comes across as so just freaking lame. The nope and people criticize me when I always say like so and so should be heel, but the reason why is because WWE cannot script for baby faces.
They cannot.
They cannot. And you look at the most over baby face right now is probably Braun Strowman. That's because he doesn't say anything. He doesn't have to do these promos. So these I think these are not helping AJ at all. He comes across as not a main event guy week after week, even though he's the champion.
And Braun stuff is organic, right? Like he became a baby face because of the fans, not because of the writers.
Well, they pushed him with how they booked him. They protected him a lot.
He was still playing a heel though. I mean, like he still was. It was organic. The fans loved him being who he is, and now he's talking about the catch these hands, which is also organic. He even said in the interview that random stuff just comes out of his mouth and he has no idea what he's going to talk about, and sometimes it sticks. So it worked, and those are the things that are making Braun popular. But I mean, talking about writing for someone is just difficult for the WWE to do as far as baby faces are concerned, unless it's organic like Braun or Daniel Bryan or someone like that.
Yeah. All right. So after this, we had a backstage segment with Shane and Daniel Bryan. Shane thought that Bryan was booking that, the 2 matches for AJ tonight, and Bryan said he wasn't. And then basically Shane questioned if Bryan is capable of doing this job. So after a couple of weeks of not teasing any dissension, they're kind of back to where they were. Next, we had Chad Gable and Jey Uso, the usual tag teams feuding, put them in singles matches stuff. Chad Gable beat Jey Uso. Jey Uso, normally I would think that this means that the Usos are winning at the Rumble, but the fact that Jey Uso had the DUI last week, I'm not so sure. What do you guys take from this? Chris?
I didn't think of that.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Matt.
Oh, it's okay.
I'll get to the Jay thing in a bit, but here's a better question. Matt, there's a ladder behind you. Are you teasing a Money in the Bank appearance?
With a panda mask on. I do all my shows in my garage generally. No, definitely not.
No. But seriously, as far as Jay is concerned, I agree with you, Raj. As far as just the DUI, I think this may be his quote unquote punishment, losing the singles match, and that's kind of my logic with Gable and Benjamin winning on Sunday as well, is because of Jay's thing, and they'll probably drop the titles from him.
Matt, what do you think?
That's definitely going to happen. Yes.
You think Gable and Benjamin are taking it?
No question. Yeah. You can't. They. I mean, it's DUI is never good, obviously. Yeah. But WWE, it's very obvious, and they're right for doing it as far as what they value as important nowadays, and that is incredible. Public image for them is everything, and it is what it is. You know what I mean? So it's not like he's going to be fired or anything like that. But they'll drop the titles and they'll work their way back up again within the next month, I'll bet.
Yeah, and Jimmy's had a couple in the past. It didn't affect their push too much, but
yeah,
I know if you're not very high on the card, the money isn't necessarily the best. It's lower than I think what a lot of people assume. But man, get an Uber. If you're out drinking, it's not worth it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
not worth it.
So yeah, I felt like most of this match was during the commercial break. They had the split screen commercial.
I hate that.
Yeah, I feel like I'm not paying attention to the commercial or the match, so it kind of takes away from both. Oh God, we were talking about scripting for baby faces. Next, we had Renee Young backstage with Nakamura.
Oh my God,
Royal Rumble, man! You want to
take that out of my memory banks, please? I had to watch that.
Oh, man, you want to make this guy not a star. Keep doing stuff like this.
That Will Smith Men in Black device. Just
please use it on me. And use it on everybody else.
A lot of people think Nakamura is winning the Royal Rumble. Man, if this is... Would they be scripting this crap for... Well, I guess they would be. They would,
because they're horrible. But here's the thing. I hope happens if he does win, which I hope happens. Then maybe once he, you know what I mean, if he does win the title or whatnot, let's say it does happen, maybe they leave him alone. I don't know.
I doubt it.
Because they're ruining him. They like with the cat crap he was doing with the mixed tag, and now that what I saw tonight, like he could not have been any cornier.
Yeah, he was doing this like cutesy stuff, and oh man, it was brutal to watch. Man, Chris,
take him off the mic. I mean, it just kills the mystique of so many characters when they put the mic on them. It's terrible. They did it with Kane for a while. They had him cut so many daggone promos that it just took so much mystique away from his character. And if you know you have someone who is built on not talking, don't allow them to talk. It just kills their mystique, and it makes it even worse when we hear Nakamura talk on the mic. It doesn't help anything. Talk about cats meow and stuff like that with Natalya. Mm-hmm. Like, how am I supposed to think that he's a strong babyface competitor if he's talking about, cat meow and whiskers with Natalya? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Keep him off that mic.
I got an idea for you guys. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
Indictment on people, not on these guys that can't cut promos. What he's saying is some certain characters are just stronger in general without having to talk, not because they can't talk, but because it makes their character that much better and cooler, more exciting, more badass, whatever. You know what I mean? Whatever the high end of their character is, like, it completely hurts it. You know what I mean? And this is a great example of it. And it's at first my concern with him was his accent, his broken English. It's going to hurt him. I remember thinking when he came up to the main roster. But when I saw him on NXT, I was like, you know what? They have him talk just about enough in these sit-down interviews with whoever his opponent would be going up into that NXT huge takeover event, let's say. To be a sit-down with him and Samoa Joe. That was good use of it, But they didn't really have him talk that much other than those type of moments. They should have just kept it that way. Like, they have the blueprint in place of so many of these characters that were so well done at NXT. They just need to get out of their way.
Yeah.
In addition to that, they didn't have Nakamura come on every week on NXT. They kind of had that Hogan effect where he would make appearance, once or twice a month, so it won't be oversaturated to add on it to, the promo work that even dilutes it more.
Yeah, I mean, you just go back to, again, I know WWE tries to stay away from managers and stuff like that, but you see how effective Paul Heyman is with Lesnar. And I got a weird one for you, but think about it for a second before saying it's a stupid idea. But what about if you paired Paige with Nakamura?
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say Paige.
Really? Yeah. I mean, she's not doing much for Absolution. I think she can make an awesome mouthpiece.
Definitely.
You get her out of the ring gear, just regular clothes or whatever, and have her be a manager and, talk these guys up.
And he doesn't even need a manager. You know what I mean? If it's not that, they don't want to say have her. I think she'd be great as his manager. I agree with that. But, like, I think he's so goddamn over with his different. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you froze up for a second, but
I think he's so different of a character that he doesn't even need a manager. What we saw at NXT is all he needs to do. That's it. Same thing. Nothing different.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they had a manager for him, it should be like Armando Alejandro Estrada. I think that would be somebody like Shinsuke Nakamura. I think it would be like the whole Samoan bulldozer. I think he did a fantastic job with Umaga, and I think that he would.
Good job with Umaga.
Yeah.
I think that he would do some. I think that he would be well as a spokesperson for someone like Nakamura.
He just comes across as too heelish for me, though. I think Paige could do both sides. Like, she could do a baby face.
She'd be great.
Yeah, and it's different. It would be one of those weird pairings that that just might work. Who knows? All right, so next we had Naomi versus Liv Morgan. And I was like, wow, WWE is not clumping all the women together. They're doing a singles match with them, bravo. But by the end, they lumped them all together.
Yeah. Of course they did.
But yeah, so Naomi versus Liv. This was better than I thought it would be. I mean, they kind of screwed up one 3 count. Liv is still a little green, but I thought she was doing some cool stuff in there. She did that Trish Stratus Matrix move, and yeah, so I thought it was a fun little match until all of a sudden at the end, for no reason, the women just started coming out and they kind of did the same Raw angle where they start throwing each other over the top. At the end, Becky threw Naomi out, but Naomi's feet didn't touch the floor. Pretty much the same thing on Raw. What do you guys think? Oh yeah, and then Charlotte came out for a promo. Came across as kind of heelish and said that whoever wins should be worried about winning because then they're gonna have to face her.
I thought it was a great match actually, until what you said at the end happened. The schmaz at the end that the same people that watch Raw watch SmackDown.
Yeah,
because when I was there, I remember that they thought it was a different audience. I swear to you. They thought people that watch SmackDown don't always watch Raw, and people that watch Raw don't always watch SmackDown. And maybe there's some truth to that back then, but now I don't believe there is. Is there?
Well, back then SmackDown was like on CW and My Network TV, so different people had access to it that may not have had cable or USA. So I could see maybe
this is the same channel,
but this is the same channel exactly. So I think the crossover, I think pretty much everyone that watches SmackDown watches Raw. Not necessarily everyone that watches Raw watches SmackDown, because otherwise the numbers would be closer.
So that's why you need to be cognizant and not doing the same goddamn shit that they just did in the show before.
Exactly.
On Raw.
Yep. I've been saying that forever, especially with the women. When they did the Absolution and the Riot Squad, they did the same exact angle. And there was no connection with them. I think a lot of people assume that, well, maybe it's like forming like this women's stable, between the two brands, but it wasn't. It was just lazy booking. They didn't want to come up with something different. Chris?
Yeah, I think, and Matt, you probably can attest to this as far as just the expansion of writers over the years. I think when you're dealing with 30 writers, it's probably just difficult to kind of hone into an idea until probably last minute. And then at that time, you're just like, I don't care what we do. Just throw them all in together, and that's what it looks like, that it's just, they can't really hone into an idea. So they just throw everybody together and just say, to heck with it. I don't care what we do. Just throw them all out there, and that's how it appears from the viewer as looking. And that just really, it doesn't really make the division stand out. It doesn't make anyone in the women's division on SmackDown stand out. And I think that's a huge problem.
Yeah, I agree. Charlotte, great promo. I'd like to see them do more one-on-one stuff with these. I do not want more titles in WWE. I feel like it just devalues it. But if all they're doing is clumping the women together, maybe they should have a tag titles, for the women, so they could keep a separate singles feud going. But I don't know.
Yeah, I'm always hesitant to adding extra titles. Although I do think NXT should have a kind of mid-card title, but I'm always hesitant in adding extra titles. But like you said, for the sake of not clumping everyone together, it may be beneficial.
I think the Cruiserweight title should go to NXT and get rid of the separate 205 live taping, but that's me.
I agree. I've said it plenty of times. I don't think 205 Live should exist. I think it should be called 205 Prime and be before or after NXT. I think the live element of that division it's not an amenity. It makes no extra benefit of the division at all. Makes no sense.
No, it just shows people being quiet during their matches.
Yeah. Yeah. Similar to how NXT was when it was after SmackDown. And then when they kind of made it an ROH feel and a smaller crowd, that's when it started to become organic and kind of go from the ground up. If they do that with 205 Live, and if they had a decent house when they were in Lowell, if I'm not mistaken, if they had that same type of approach, kind of going, from a groundswell approach, I think they can have some type of interest in 205 Live, but just kind of dumping it after SmackDown. I've already watched SmackDown for 2 hours, and then I got to watch this, and now the Mixed Match Challenge too. like I'm checked out.
Yeah, I agree. I think they should do the taping. If they still want to keep it separate, do the tapings at Full Sail when you do the NXT tapings. But I think just have it be a part of NXT. Maybe move NXT to 2 hours and bring the cruiserweights in. But it's just dead. And with Enzo out now, it's really dead. So next week they'll be announcing a 205 Live GM who's going to address the cruiserweight title situation. A lot of people think it might be Rockstar Spud, even though I think there's a hole in the talent right now as far as entertaining characters. I think they could use him as a wrestler and not as a GM.
They're saying Rockstar Spud's going to be the GM of that show.
That's just, speculation because he's been around, but they haven't used him yet.
On my show last night, there were a few people. There's a lot of live interaction. There was a few names that people were saying. Someone said Christian. Another person said Shane Helms, which is actually be a good idea. There were a couple other names that people were saying. Spud was another name, but I think someone like a Shane Helms wouldn't be a bad idea. I mean, he really helped out with the cruiserweight division, during his time in WWE, and they need some type of huge, significant name to bring interest in this 205 Live. Of course, the obvious choice would be someone like a Rey Mysterio, but would he relegate himself to that?
No,
he's got more mileage in the tank too. But I do think if they do bring someone in, it should be someone smaller, even whether it's an old cruiserweight from the 90s, but not have someone that's going to dwarf the guys.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's the only reason I wouldn't say Christian. Yeah, I mean, he's not gigantic, but he is bigger than everyone else.
Shane is bigger than them.
Yeah, Shane's about the same size as Christian is.
Yeah, that's why Shane shouldn't be there either. Yeah. So next we had Nakamura versus Corbin. This was, they had a pretty good match. This was one of their better matches, I thought. At one point, Corbin countered the Kinshasa and hit a deep 6 for a close 2 count. He was going to go for the end of days. Nakamura turned it into an arm bar. Corbin reversed, covered for a 2 count. Nakamura, dropped Corbin with a big shot to the ear. He went back to the corner and was going for the Kinshasa, and then out of nowhere, Randy Orton hit him with an RKO. And that was probably the coolest RKO I've seen in years. That was freaking awesome. And that was kind of Orton celebrated. It's kind of confusing. I think they were trying to sell the aspect that it's every man for themselves, but I think they should have had him cut a short promo or said something because it just kind of laid them both out, and that was it. Matt, I'll go to you first. What'd you think?
Same thing as you said at the end with the RKO. It's every man for themselves. But the match itself, I thought was really good. Surprisingly, you know what I mean. I'm not a big fan of what's his name's matches usually, Baron. But you gotta give credit. He held his end of tonight's match, I thought, and I thought it was good.
Yeah, I thought it was one of Corbin's best matches in a while. Chris?
Yeah, I think Corbin's a solid competitor. I think he's improving. I think you can see that he wants to improve, which is good, which is commendable in my opinion. Here's my biggest critique, though, and I think it's a huge critique for me for his that body. Whole segment. Other than that, as far as that segment is concerned, I despise that they had Orton hit it on Nakamura. I think that was a terrible, terrible idea. I wish they would have hit. I wish he would have done that spot on Corbin, because I think you're already at the point where you're kind of diluting Nakamura so much and every other elements that if you have Orton kind of drop that very impressive looking RK out of nowhere, it just kind of buries him even more. And if he hits it on Corbin, Corbin's in heel, it really doesn't matter. But to hit that on Nakamura, to me, was just not a good call.
Yeah, it does make Nakamura look secondary to Orton, like Orton is the bigger star. Is it just me, or does Orton look like 15 years younger with his hair grown out like that?
He does. He definitely does.
Yeah, I don't know if he's just
too.
trying something different or it's for a movie or something, but he looks younger.
Physically too, he was when he was interviewed on the Edge and Christian podcast, he was talking about how he hates just his body and how the fact that he can be like fat one moment and like skinny the other moment, and he just kind of detests the fact that he just has to always pay attention to himself as far as what he eats. And I was thinking about that podcast when I looked at that. I was like, man, this is one of his up moments. He looks great.
Yeah. So next we had the New Day and Bobby Roode. Bobby Roode, I don't know. As a babyface, he just seems like a fish out of water. Not digging it, but so they're teaming up against Jinder Mahal, Rusev, and Aiden English. Rusev basically, since the fans started, getting into him, has not won a match. So I think it's clear WWE, it wasn't in their plans for him to be a big baby face, so they're making sure that they nip that in the bud because they're making him cold. I mean, when he was in the ring at the beginning, that was on during a commercial break, so you can't even hear him. They had the split commercials when Rusev was in the ring. And Sunil. So Jinder was only out with Sunil Singh. Samir Singh, like we had mentioned last week, he appeared to have rolled his ankle. He did injure his ankle, and so he's going to be out for a while. So that's unfortunate. So anyway, this match saw Xavier Woods pinning Aiden English to win the match, and yeah, most of Rusev's time in the match was during that split screen commercial. Chris, let me go to you first.
Yeah, I think it's quite obvious that WWE wants to damper that Rusev pops that momentum as much as they can. I mean, I pay attention to the subtleties a lot. It's even gotten to the point where Aiden English doesn't even introduce Rusev anymore. And now those little subtleties is quite obvious that they're just trying to mute that reaction. Real
quick, not to cut you off, Chris. How many times has that happened where he hasn't introduced him?
Pretty much since fans started chanting Rusev Day.
Like more than
a few weeks.
And he was introducing him for a very long time, or
pretty much every time until the fans.
Okay, because I don't watch every one of the SmackDowns. That's what I'm asking. So continue. Sorry.
Yeah, he would sing. He would do his little singing thing, spiel, and then he would announce, Rusev, especially around the Christmas time, because he would do, every day is Rusev Day. And then after that, he doesn't even do that part anymore. So it's quite obvious that they're trying to, lessen the reaction as much as they can. As far as gender is concerned, to me, it's either you come out with two or you come out with none. Just coming out with one of them just doesn't make any sense to me. It just lessens the kind of the feel, the factor of it. A lot of times we complain that the Singh brothers were too involved with his matches when he was world champ, but it's interesting that I think they actually play a good part now since he's not world champ and he's kind of rebounding his character. I think the fact that both of them are out there now kind of helps his character non-champion wise. And so having just one out there it kind of defeats the point because both of them would usually jump on the competitor.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think, though, because he's so diminutive, okay, that it still works, you know what I mean, in a Harvey Whippleman kind of way, just size factor alone way, I mean, and it makes Jinder look all the more impressive physically. Jinder's deceivingly tall. That dude is like 6'5". He has to be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But he looks even bigger next to either one of those two guys, and for them to keep getting this opportunity, I hope that they keep at least one on, because when the other one gets better, this won't be a killed angle.
True.
Yeah.
Guys go and steam on them and use them and one the power bombs and stuff like that. Are you losing me? I can hear you wanting to say something, Raj.
Yeah, we're losing you a little bit. Yeah, we lost you there, but all right,
really quick, great match. Great match. I don't think Bobby Roode should be a babyface. Bobby Roode is at his best when he's a heel.
Cool. And Matt, to your point, I agree. I think Sunil needs to change his outfit a little bit, because I think the way he's dressed, you're expecting two, and it seems odd with one. Mm-hmm. Maybe wear a suit, something, but yeah, keep him there with him. But Matt, I want to ask you this because I can't remember if you were there when Matt Hardy was always getting over with the fans, and WWE would just keep jobbing him out every week to kind of change the fan reactions to him. What are your thoughts when a talent starts getting over and WWE seems to deliberately bring them down the ladder? Whether it's, we've seen those Zack Ryder and Cesaro and all these people in the past.
That they know that he's monopolized this business, and they can do whatever they want. And it's a shame. It's why there was a huge gap in talent. When I was there, when we were the young guys coming up, we had studs for days. That if we were wrestling today, and I'm not just saying this, but if we were on that roster today, it would be night and day different as far as the talent goes. Not that we're more talented, but we were just as talented with size. Back to 2003 to 2007 ish. Look at the younger guys during that generation, and did years of experience. The Rene Dupree's of the world. There's so many good talented guys, and I just kept thinking, like, they've got this on lock. Their new guy, their next up and comer guy is John Cena. It's Randy Orton. It's Batista. They don't need 50 versions of that, and it hurt them because you remember that span they went through. I want to say between 2009 to 2013, they could not find new upcoming talent to save their lives until they started leaning on Ring of Honor and breaking down that size barrier that you need to be 300 pounds in order to be successful and get a push, right? They had to do that because they did not set the table properly when I was there in building their next superstars of tomorrow and keeping them on board. So when John and Randy and them are finally main eventers and they're over, they've got guys their own age to go against. Instead, they were having to go against the Undertakers, the Rocks for special appearances, and things like that. And I believe it was like maybe Sheamus was like an up-and-comer at the time. And there was like one or two people. And it wasn't like this litany of people that it should have been. And they shot themselves in the foot. But I remember thinking to myself, they can afford to do that because they're the only game in town. So when I see the Zack Ryders and all these other people getting completely screwed over, they're doing what their job is, and in fact, they're exceeding expectations because they're getting over when they're not supposed to. They're not being punished for it. It's just WWE going, well, you know what? We're sticking to what we have written down. We are not, which sucks. That is how the business really boomed in the late 90s, as we know. And it's a shame that we don't have really good competition to make them do that again, as far as listening to the fans. Look what it took with Daniel Bryan. It took, like, Hunter to be embarrassed out of the building during a promo multiple times, I want to say, where the fans were just not taking it anymore. And they you know what I mean? They shoved Daniel Bryan back down Triple H's throat. You're saying, you're going to use this guy. He's the guy we want to see. And people were up in arms until he got his just due. It's going to take that, it's for a Rusev thing to happen, for a Zack Ryder thing to happen. Unfortunately, it's got to take that kind of a movement, and that's BS. It should just be what arena they're in. Are they reacting? They are. Has this been happened multiple times? Okay, then we need to change plans.
Yep.
Rusev needs to be booked as a babyface now. Case in point, they almost blew it big time with Braun Strowman. That night, Braun Strowman got hit by the ambulance, ran over, whatever the hell it was, by Roman Reigns, was his Austin 3:16 moment, and they fucking missed it. They completely missed it.
Right, yeah. It was months later before they pretty much turned a babyface.
He would have been even hotter.
Yeah.
Go back to that time.
Real quick. I think a perfect example of that between 09 and 13 was the Nexus. I think that they just totally just blew that up just terribly. I think Wade Barrett was just a star. And I think that they just, during that time, they just really messed it up because John Cena, I don't know, I wasn't backstage. I heard a lot of things, but I wasn't backstage. Cena's even admitted that he, made a bad call during that, SummerSlam when Team WWE, the hodgepodge of faces and heels together, including Bret Hart. Just when they beat the Nexus, that was a terrible call. And I think just that whole Cena, getting forcing to be fired just to come back the next week on Raw and beat people up backstage. Just terrible booking where Barrett was organically, becoming a main event star.
Yeah.
And I think they blew it.
To be fair, though, with the Nexus thing, I think that thing would have run out of steam pretty quick anyway, because because it was all rookies that people did not see as superstars individually. Eventually, once you start putting these guys in one-on-one matches, you're not going to be doing five-on-5 matches all the time. And so once you're having Justin Gabriel versus Batista, or The Undertaker, Batista wasn't around then, but like The Undertaker, then all of a sudden you're like, okay,
listen, can you not hear me?
No, I can. Go ahead.
Ryback, Wade Barrett, Heath Slater, a first time around. There was multiples at Daniel Bryan. Hello. Yep. There's multiples out of that group that could have handled single individual angles, bro.
Yeah, well, Daniel Bryan was fired the first night out.
Stupid call.
It was stupid, but he was out. But I'm not saying they couldn't have handled it. I'm just saying that fans didn't see them on that level individually yet. You got to like
Morrison. They did with Barrett, though.
John Morrison's another good example.
Yeah, I think Wade Barrett was the only one at that time. But what about John Morrison?
Real quick. That's what they did with Barrett, though, because he was going against Orton in main events. He was going against Cena in main events. He had the main event matches. He just lost them, and that was
no. Wade Barrett, I agree with you. He was the one. Ryback wasn't ready then. He was kind of a goofy character then. So he was the only one that you could really see at that time against the top guys in singles matches.
Listen, the NXT angle was great, but what I'm saying, the Nexus rather, it was a great angle. But what I'm saying is, the guys, the next crop of stars, they didn't have it. Yeah. They were not. They were completely wiped out, and they were not ready. And how many times did we say? Like, it was like Jack Swagger would get an opportunity to be the next big thing. It would be Sheamus would be the opportunity to be the next big thing. And it wasn't there, okay? And you go back to 2002, I'm telling you, I'm begging you, to 2007, 2008 even. Look at the guys that you would perceive as, wow, this guy's got a hell of a future. He's going to put some years in on time on TV, and then they'll develop him. They didn't give us that luxury back then. You either got over immediately or you were done. Yeah. And it's a stupid thing. What I'm watching today, and I'm watching all these sideshow midget piss hands getting opportunity after opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. And half of them look like they should be pumping my gas or changing my oil.
Yeah, fair enough. No, I agree with you. But I think
the point is they monopolize the business, so they feel they can do whatever the hell they want. You cheer for this guy, we're not going to be mad at you for cheering, but we're not going to give you what you want as far as pushing him either.
Yeah. Yeah, at some point it just seems so ass backwards just to take someone that can make you money, his shirt was starting to sell like it was selling really hot, and to just take that away because it's not in your plans, and the fans are gonna do what you want them to do, and they didn't want them to do that.
Insert CM Punk promo here. Vince McMahon's a millionaire who should be a billionaire. You know why he's not a billionaire? Because he listens to a bunch of glad-handing, blah, 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 douchebags, yes men. That's insert that right there. That's exactly the reason why.
Yeah.
Because Vince used to listen to the crowd.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So we had the main event, AJ against Kevin Owens, and then AJ against Sami Zayn. Shane McMahon came out before the match started, said that if either of them interfered in the other's matches, they would be say fired or out of the Royal Rumble? Fired. So they'd be fired. And then he started cutting a promo, but they cut to commercial during it. Came back. AJ beat Kevin Owens in like a minute and a half. It was really short. Kevin Owens has been dealing with an injury, so he hasn't worked the last couple weeks. He's missed live events. The last time he worked was that handicap match on SmackDown. So I don't know if this. So they did the calf crusher. Owens tapped in a minute and a half, and then AJ left it on. So I don't know if this is a way for them to kind of keep Owens, not necessarily pull him from the match, but keep him kind of out of the match, selling his leg outside the ring, like for most of it.
Definitely.
AJ works with Sammy.
Yeah.
And
definitely, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, they did this angle. Owens is getting medical attention for the next 30 minutes outside the ring while they went to AJ and Sammy. And then they're putting Owens on a stretcher. Styles went out for no reason, pushed him off, went back in. Sammy hit the haluva kick and the Blue Thunder Bomb, pinned him semi-clean. I mean, it was AJ's fault that he lost by going outside the ring and made AJ look stupid. And yeah, Sammy with a relatively clean win. AJ loses again.
And it made him look like a heel.
Who,
it made him look like a heel.
Yeah, by pushing someone off the stretcher.
Just randomly going and pushing him off the stretcher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, just not knowing how to book your baby faces. I thought AJ just looked. This was a bad episode for AJ overall. Yeah, and that was a heel move with him leaving the calf crusher on after Owens tapped and just keeping it on and injuring him. So,
yeah,
man,
I think that's again, it's a terrible way to book AJ. You just don't book your champion like that. I mean, period. You just don't have him lose consecutive times within a month. He's a champ. You know, I think it's a terrible idea. One thing I did notice is that finally Sami Zayn gets a win with the Blue Thunder Bomb. That's usually like his signature move that everybody kicks out of. So I don't know if they're gonna make the haluva kick kind of the signature and then the Blue Thunder the actual finisher. Either way works, but I like Sammy where he's at. I think this is the best work of his WWE career, in my opinion. But you know, you just can't pin. Just pinning the champ is a terrible call, especially consecutively like this. You just don't book a champ like that.
Yeah, he doesn't feel like. I feel like every week since he's won that title, he feels less and less like a superstar, and more like like he's at the U.S. title level. And he gets the best reactions on the show. They should protect him way better, and they're not. So anyway, that was SmackDown.
Real quick, yeah. Raj. Something I just thought about is that if you had blinders on an episode of Raw or SmackDown, especially with SmackDown, with the whole AJ point, if you had blinders on and you had like some type of focus group that pulls out the stars based on reactions that make them stand out, would AJ Styles, as far as just his work is concerned, would he stand out from the rest? So yeah, they have the AJ Styles chants and things like that, but what about AJ Styles from a booking standpoint allows him to stand out? Name, I can't think of anything.
You mean
is it you I'll answer that. You let him wrestle his matches. That's how AJ gets himself over. He wrestles the best matches on every card that he's on. His body language when he's in midair, everything he does is different. Watch him anytime. Watch anybody else to jump off the top rope. It's different when AJ does it. AJ's body control is different. He seems to slow himself down midair and do like this Jordan looking friggin' pose. Like everything he does looks really impressive and super acrobatically athletic. And it's different when he does it. His punches are stiffer. His forearms are stiffer when he gets pissed. You need to let him work. You need to let him wrestle. He's like Daniel Bryan. You need to let him wrestle. And that's how he gets over. But unlike Daniel Bryan eventually started to get over on the mic with his yes and no crap. And then his heel persona started coming out a lot more when he was doing his character with Kane stuff. They're still yet to get there with AJ. And that's their fault.
I think AJ was starting to get there when he was a heel and like working with Cena and doing that stuff. I thought his mic work was getting pretty good. And I think it goes back to WWE not being able to write for baby faces.
This isn't his mic work. This isn't his mic. This is exactly what you just said. It's what they're writing for him. You know what I mean? They're always chanting along. This is the house AJ Styles built. Every time he says it, he's still getting the biggest pop. It's just, they don't know how to write for baby faces. That's obvious, and especially him. And I think for what you're talking about, it's going to take him going back to being a heel because they seem to write better, more entertaining stuff for heels for some reason. For him to get to that point where if there's no title belt on him, let's say, all right, and then your focus group is just watching a show that's never watched wrestling before, then they'll be able to start pulling like, okay, this guy's a main event level act, no question. This guy stands out.
I get your point, Chris. I think you're saying, does he have that main event level charisma that someone watching wrestling for the first time would get hooked onto it? Like, say, like a Hulk Hogan or...
Right, exactly.
Right, but Matt, let's say someone that doesn't watch wrestling, do they care about a good match if they're not invested in the characters yet?
Yes, because they've never seen someone do like a double flip off the top rope before. They've never seen someone do it from a sleep. Like, they'll be impressed with the moves. I really think so.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: will those moves bring in new viewers?
No.
I think it always comes down to characters and storylines.
It definitely does. It definitely does. But we're saying how to play to his strengths.
Yes.
If you want him to look like a main event level talent, it's not going to come. It's not his fault, but it's not going to come by the way of the microphone because they're rating like shit for him.
It reminds me of kind of like Bret Hart, where fans really respect Bret Hart. They loved him in the early 90s, but business was also dropping in a sense because his character wasn't necessarily bringing in more fans than that were turning out at the time. And
he was way more uncomfortable on the microphone than AJ is. Be honest.
Yeah, he got way better as time went on. But
Bret was very uncomfortable.
Yeah. But you compare that, like Sting was bad on the mic back then too, but you know, he still had that main event charisma.
He was at charisma, yeah.
Yeah. And so that brought in newer fans, whereas Bret necessarily wasn't during that time.
Right.
So I do get your point, Chris. I know what you mean, but Bret got super over and became a legend. I think AJ is on that path, but again, stop writing this crap for him and let him show it in the ring. That's a strong point.
The anti-American stuff really worked for Bret.
Yeah,
that's where he seemed like he got much more comfortable on the mic when he started to do the pro-Canada, anti-America gimmick. And it has to be something with AJ that we haven't seen yet. They're kind of intangible. The Yes movement helped for Daniel Bryan. The anti-Canada helped with Bret. We haven't seen that factor with AJ yet. Like you said, Matt, they're kind of doing the whole house that AJ Styles built and trying to get some steam with that. It's not necessarily working yet, but they still have to find that thing that's going to kind of stand AJ Styles out to a focus group who doesn't watch wrestling.
It doesn't have to be a focus group that focus. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't determine if someone's a main event act or not. Come on, but
no. Not in a matter of like we're all wrestling fans. I'm talking about trying to bring new people in, you know, the casual fans and investors and stuff like that. There's focus groups with it.
So you need to find something that resonates with that performer. I'm telling you right now, it already happened, and go back and watch it again. It happened with John Cena. He ate John up on the microphone. Go back and watch it again. Are you kidding me? Go back and watch it again. John took shots on friggin' Good Morning America shows, but he got his shit eaten alive when AJ very matter-of-factly said, I could work circles around you, and I'm going to do it. Then he went and did it.
We'll have to go back to the tape because you know they always
that kid more confident. You've never seen him more confident than you did during those promos.
No, those were
never been more confident.
No, like I said, that was his best promo work was as Cena, but Cena ran circles around him with his comebacks, and but he was positioned to do that too. He gets the last word, right? You know, on the heel. So, but you know, Cena, I don't think anyone can really touch him on the mic when it comes to that kind of stuff with the current crop of talent, or at least they're not. Maybe the Usos, if they were really given a live mic without a script. I don't know. All right. Really quick, let's run down this Royal Rumble card and get your thoughts. Usos versus Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship. 2 out of 3 falls. Guys, your pick?
New champions.
I agree. New champions.
Agreed.
All right. Then we got the Raw Tag Team Champions, Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan, Sheamus and Cesaro. Kind of smart money seems like either there's a breakup here and Sheamus and Cesaro win. Otherwise, it's Rollins and Jordan. They keep this going. What do you guys think?
Damn. Rollins, they drop the titles. No, they do not drop the titles. There'll be a SmackDown drop. No, they'll keep the titles and they'll keep the story going.
I agree. Rollins and Jordan keep the story going. The Hardys are gone. There's no top babyface tag team right now, unless you add like Titus Worldwide, and they're not they're not a top team. So this is the babyface team you have, and one of them's a strong heel. So they have a deficiency in talent right now.
Yeah, I think this is what they're doing for now. They don't really have anything else for either Rollins or Jordan, so they keep with this. And if they are doing a split and they do a Mania match, I think it's way too early to do the split. Yeah. So I think they keep the titles. We'll jump to the WWE Championship match, 2-on-1 handicap. We saw the WWE match tonight, last night. But what do you guys think?
Styles.
Yeah.
WWE math as in Sami Zayn got the pin, so so Styles is probably winning.
Well, I don't know. I hate to say this. I think he's going to lose it, and it's going to do this stupid because they look at SmackDown do Raw. You know what I mean? Like I could see them idiotically thinking like, "Oh, this is going to be great. We're going to have co-heavyweight champions for the first time, and the skits are going to be backstage vignettes are going to be hilarious and which is horrible thinking." But this is, I don't know. I'm going to take a risk and say that I hope it doesn't happen, but I think it will happen. I think AJ loses.
Or it might not be a clean finish. It may extend. It may not be a clean finish.
I think AJ wins here. I think him losing here would kind of bury him with how much he's lost lately, and to not win here, I think would hurt him a lot.
It would.
Yeah. All right. So why don't we go to Lesnar versus Strowman versus Kane? You guys think you guys see any surprises or WWE math? Braun laid out Lesnar.
Braun wins. Braun wins the title.
You think?
And this is why you know what? I'm taking back my pick about AJ dropping it now. Okay, AJ keeps it, and Braun wins the title here.
Wow. I think.
What else is Kane in this match?
To take
the fall guy for Brock.
To take for Lesnar to pin him. They don't want Lesnar to pin Strowman again since he just did a few months ago. So he pins Kane and faces Roman at Mania.
All right. Yep, I thought they advertised Braun as champion.
No. I think they're doing Braun and Triple H at Mania.
Yep, me too. All right, that's I agree with that. I see Braun and Triple H as well.
I don't know. He has to win. It's the second go at Brock again. He's got to win.
I don't think he should be in this match, but I think that's why they put Kane in so he doesn't lose.
Yep. Agreed.
But we'll see. Okay, so we disagree on a couple of these. I thought we were going to be pretty universal, so that's good. That means it's not predictable. All right, so the 30-woman Royal Rumble match. Now, these are a little harder to predict.
You got Matt.
Matt, I'll throw it to you first.
The ladies Royal Rumble. I still what did I pick on Raw? Who did I pick? I picked what's her name? The Irish chick. Come on, that was
Becky Lynch.
Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch.
So far we got 18 women announced. You know what would have been cool? That Chris has an article on Wrestling Inc. this morning about a former writer, Tom Casillo, I believe is his name. He criticized WWE for how the women legends were treated on Raw 25. Not treated, but how, you had the Dudleys do something cool and DX and a lot of these legends, whereas the women, they just came out for the one segment, waved and that was kind of it. You have 18 women announced for the Rumble, so that means there's like 12 surprises between NXT and people returning. It would have been cool if you had one of those legends that are returning for the Rumble come out and throw out Asuka at the end. When Asuka threw everyone out, then all of a sudden you have like Trish come in, throw out Asuka, and you get this big pop, and you build anticipation of the women's Rumble match. And, she's like, I'm in the Rumble. So
I think Michelle McCool would have been the perfect person for that.
Trish is the biggest star. I think that would have gotten the biggest pop. But again, we don't know if she's in it. She's probably not. She might not be in it.
Yeah, she probably won't be in it. Yeah, Michelle McCool has a better chance to me to be in it than Trish does. Yeah. As far as the winner's concerned, I think it's going to be Ronda Rousey, and I think Ronda Rousey's going to go for Charlotte for Mania, and I think somehow we'll get Asuka and Bliss at Mania as well. Maybe they'll do a first ever women's elimination chamber match. That's a number one contenders match since they're they're on this first ever stuff. I think they'll do that. They'll do that with the elimination chamber. Asuka will win it and face Bliss.
I think Ronda Rousey too, but I think she goes for Asuka. I think Asuka's going to beat Alexa by then for the title. I don't see them having two singles women's matches on the show. I think if they haven't, they'll have one single women's title match and the other brand will have a multi-person, since that seems to be what they usually do. But I agree. I think it's Ronda Rousey.
Hey, I'm taking back my pick because I picked I picked her for when I picked on the Raw Post Show podcast the other night. So that means I get a different pick now.
All right, go ahead. Who'd you say, Matt?
Asuka.
Oh, you picked Asuka. All right.
Yeah.
I think if Rousey does win, I think that match closes the show because my pick for the men's Royal Rumble is Dolph Ziggler. And I think that sucks. I think it sucks but I think that's what they're going to do.
I love Dolph. He's a good friend. I love him to death. I just don't. Hasn't this ship sailed though?
Yeah, I agree. But they don't see the SmackDown title as a main title. They don't want their biggest SmackDown match at WrestleMania. You know, last year they did Orton versus Wyatt.
Right. You could do Daniel Bryan versus AJ.
That would be huge. But if Daniel Bryan's cleared to return, that would be awesome. I just don't think he's getting cleared. So I think it's going to be Dolph as a surprise entrant, wins and faces AJ. And it's just going to be one of those matches. It might even be the opening match. Who knows? But yeah.
Oh, no.
They've done that before. Sheamus won it, and his match with Daniel Bryan was the opener, and he won in 15 seconds, or 8 seconds, or whatever that was. That's my pick, Dolph. I'd hate it. I hope it doesn't happen, but that's where I think they're going. Chris,
what do you got, Matt?
Oh, sure. Let's go to Matt now.
Nakamura.
All right.
Okay, so here's my question before I pick. So initially it was supposed to be Bobby Roode and Jinder Mahal in the finals at Royal Rumble. Why? And we didn't see Ziggler on SmackDown. Why did they even change that? It would have made more sense if Roode and Mahal would have faced that Royal Rumble, because neither of them are going to win the Rumble unless they surprises and have Mahal win or something like that.
And a huge deal for Bobby as well.
Yeah, he won his first U.S. title at the Royal Rumble. It would have made much more sense. I don't know why they did that. But as far as my pick is concerned, I'm going with Nakamura. But like I said before, my kind of bold prediction is Finn Balor wins and the club goes for AJ on SmackDown.
Ooh,
that would be awesome.
That really would be awesome.
So I'm with you. I think if they did that, that'd be cool. I don't see them doing awesome things on SmackDown right now.
I think that would make the WWE Championship look so much better.
Imagine those matches though between Finn and AJ.
It'd be off the hook.
Heel Finn with the club against AJ. That's an even better dynamic to me.
It is.
I've been saying for a year that Finn should move to SmackDown because they would add so much to that show.
Oh my God, yes.
So, I hope you're right, Chris. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So yeah, but I agree, Chris. When they moved it, I thought Dolph was going to show up on SmackDown this week when they did the title match last week and was going to challenge the winner at challenge Roode at the Rumble, but that didn't happen. So anyway, all right. So that's the Royal Rumble, guys. Any big surprises you guys predict?
I told you, I'm coming in at number 3. I'm coming in hot at number 3.
With the ladder and a panda.
I was about to say that. With the ladder and the panda. Yeah. I don't see any big. For me, a legend. Maybe Duggan comes since it's the 30th year of Raw. Maybe Duggan's an entrant.
Yeah, I think so many people expect a surprise that they get pissed when there's not. Like last year, there weren't any surprises.
I do.
Yeah. So there's definitely going to be ones in the women's Royal Rumble because all the women on the roster that aren't champions.
Yeah.
But
yeah. It should be a surprise because there's only, typically every year there's 3, 4 maybe people who have a chance of winning the Royal Rumble. So the anticipation who's coming out next is what people really look for in the Rumble. So you need those surprises.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why I watch it.
Yeah,
I want to see the surprises.
Yeah, last year they didn't have any. The year before they had AJ, so they'll do. Or last year they had Ty Dillinger, I think. That was
number 10. Did you see his promo on SmackDown?
Ugh.
What a difference a year makes.
Man, yeah, I feel bad for the guy. Another guy, he needs a heel turn because they're not doing the most with him. But anyway, that about does it, guys. Thanks for joining us, Chris. Power Slams and Pancake Show. Matt, you got anything you want to plug?
No,
Pancakes and Power Slams.
Pancakes and Power Slams. Sorry, man. and Chris, you want to talk about your latest show?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a wrestler interview every week. Last night I brought in my boy Tyler Rex back in. I was interested to see what he thought about just the losing streak of his good buddy Kurt Hawkins, and so we talked about that on the show last night. It was pretty cool.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. Again, we will be back Saturday. Chris will be back with me with Justin LeBar talking about NXT TakeOver. Matt will be back with me and Glenn on Sunday after the Royal Rumble. And then it's me, Matt, and Glenn again on Monday after Monday Night Raw. So a busy weekend ahead. And stay tuned to Wrestling Inc. Obviously, it's been a crazy news week and shows no signs of slowing down. So keep checking out WrestlingInc.com. And thank you, and we'll talk to you soon.